Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, if you can bring back up 1830 for a moment. 1830, I'm sorry. Remember, we were talking about this right before the break. It still has my highlight. Which color is underneath the other?
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Based on your perception, which color is underneath?
I'll sustain the objection.
All right, let's do this. Let's bring up defendant's 375, which is already into evidence. I think I need to clear that highlight, Your Honor, but I don't have the control on mine. There we go. Thank you.
It's in the top right corner if you need it, but that's fine.
Thank you. Oh, there it is. My menu was hidden. Amber, I'm going to ask you to take a look at this. Is the picture that we saw earlier, and do you see the area that's written in red here?
Yes.
Okay. What, if anything, did you have to do with the writing of that red?
Nothing.
Do you, before this trial, did you know who Carly Simon was?
I might have heard her music, but no, I didn't.
Okay. Did you know what songs Carly Simon wrote or sang?
No, you had to tell me.
Thank you. All right. And then if you can just remember this picture, again, the red area there that I've circled, and then I'm going to ask Michelle to take this one down and put 1830 back up. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at this. What, if anything, did you do to this mirror with respect to the black or the red?
I didn't touch it.
Okay. And what, if any, pictures did you take?
I took a picture of it was the picture we had right before this, is the one I took because it was in the bathroom where I found my clothes in the tub and stuff like that.
Okay. And let's go to 374, please. That's already in evidence. Is that the picture you're referring to?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I understand. What else was in this bathroom where this mirror was?
The bathtub and another mirror, which also had writing on it. The bathtub had a few of my clothes in it and paint, and both of the two mirrors were painted. I believe I took a picture of both mirrors.
Okay. And then I'm going to ask you, Michelle, if you can bring us back to 1831. And did you take this picture?
No.
Okay. And do you see in the mirror there, can you see the bathtub in the back there?
Yes, I can.
All right. Was that the bathtub that you're referring to?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And that had your clothes in it?
Objection leading.
I'm sorry. What, if anything, did it have in the bathtub?
A few of my clothes with paint on them.
Okay.
You can see, I think that's what I see in the corner of the mirror.
Okay. And then let's go to 377 for a moment. That was in evidence already. And do you recall seeing this picture earlier?
I do.
Okay. And now let's go to 1829, please. Does that appear to be the same lampshade, but in color?
It does appear that.
Okay,
It is.
thank you. All right, now let's just go through. I'm going to ask you to take a look at 1834. And what does this depict that you can recall?
That is the TV that Johnny threw the cup of coffee at.
Okay. And let's go to 1835. And what does this depict?
One of the sofas in the living room next to the kitchen with blood on it.
Okay. And then let's go to 1837. And what does this depict?
It's one of the guest bedrooms with Johnny's iPad on the bed and blood and or paint on the duvet cover.
All right, thank you. Now let's do 1838. And what does this depict?
A lampshade or a lamp that has been robbed of the shade.
Okay. Let's go to 1839. What does this depict?
A different bed with more blood on it.
Then let's go to 1840. And what does this depict?
Blood on one of the guitars that Johnny was apparently trying to play.
Okay. Then you didn't try to play the guitar.
Objection, Your Honor.
what
Calls
if
for
any-
speculation.
I didn't even get the words
At
out.
this point, next, your question. Go ahead.
Okay. What if any effort did you make to play a guitar?
I've never played the guitar.
Okay. Let's go to 1841. What does this depict?
It is where Johnny slammed the end of a bottle into the wall while holding me up against it.
Is this in the bar area?
This happened in 2 rooms, so it's hard to tell.
Okay.
The bottle into the wall, the best of my recollection, happened in the kitchenette bar area downstairs, but I can't be 100% certain.
Okay. And let's go to 1842. What does this depict?
Another broken lamp.
Okay. And then I've just got a few more left. 1805. And what does this depict?
Wine spill. It looks like the remnants of a wine glass being thrown. And it looks like broken glass.
Do you recognize where this was in the house?
Well, it looks like a bedside table, but I can't be certain.
Okay. Let's go to 1806. All right. Let's let's skip that one and let's go to 1808. Do you know what this depicts?
Wine spill.
Okay. All right. Now, you started to testify about, well, before we go there, in these pictures, would you say they accurately depict the damage that you saw that third morning?
No.
What else, how were they not accurately depicting?
Well, if you can believe it, this is it seems significantly cleaned up. There was much more damage, specifically broken glass. On the countertops, there was a lot of broken glass. I could feel it cutting my arms when I was trying to get up. And I could feel it underneath my feet. So I don't know when these pictures were taken, but there's been some cleanup.
Okay. Now, you indicated that that Johnny had turned on your iPhone and recorded. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did there come a time that you discovered a recording on your iPhone from Australia?
Yes, much later. There was this 5-hour-long recording, and naturally I didn't know what that could possibly be, because even though Johnny and I recorded each other often as part of our, struggles to figure out our relationship, this one was, 5 hours was unusual, and that's when I discovered that there had been this recording of the end of that Australia incident, if you will.
And did you listen to that recording?
I have heard it, yes.
And does it accurately represent what was depicted in that recording?
Yes.
Objection, form, lack of foundation.
You want to approach? I'm not sure. Ms. Perhoff, just could you tell me the number of the exhibit number? So
378.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Remember, you testified that you made arrangements to return home. Can you describe, let's take you to the point you left the Australia house to go to the airport and were accompanied by Ben King. Could you tell the jury what transpired during that period of time?
So I left Australia shortly after that. My understanding was Johnny was in the hospital for his finger, and Ben King was going to accompany me, and on the way to the airport, Johnny calls me, and we were just crying on the phone. He was crying. He asked if it was, if he had killed it, meaning the relationship, it was, I don't remember the exact words that he used, but he was kind of asking me in that way, is it done? Is this over? Did we kill it? Did I kill it? That sort of thing. I don't remember what I was saying to him, but we hung up as I went into the airport. I had a mix of feelings. Nothing really was making perfect sense to me, for sure. And I flew back with Ben. I don't really remember speaking to Ben on the flight.
Okay. Do you, when Mr. Depp was, what you testified on what Mr. Depp said to you on the phone ride, were you on the phone with anyone else, or was it just Mr. Depp you were on the phone with?
I only remember speaking to Johnny, and I remember sitting in the backseat of the SUV that had driven me, and we were outside of the entrance where you walk into the airport, and I even then felt torn about leaving. I obviously didn't want to stay, but I was in such shock and
Objection, Your Honor, non-responsive.
I don't know how that's non-responsive.
We're going to ask you a question again. We can-
Okay. Please tell us how you felt at that point and what Mr. Depp was saying to you.
I remember.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
She was in the middle of responding to it, Your Honor, and Your Honor said,
It was
ask
a
the
different question, but I'll sustain that objection if you want to ask a question.
Okay. How did you feel at that time?
I felt destroyed. Like my heart was broken. I didn't know what to do. I thought maybe if I left him in Australia, I thought maybe something would happen to him. I thought he might die or kill himself, because that certainly seems like the trajectory he was on. He told me he had put a cigarette out on his face before, the Friday before, and combined with all the, when I was in the bedroom and he was in the hospital, I found, and I was packing my bags and stuff, I found all these empty bags, Coke bags, dime bags with white residue on them. In them. They were in books, in the bedside table. There were so many that I was like, I wondered how I didn't see it before, even though I had, just gotten there. So I was worried he would die, and I was worried that we couldn't come back from what happened. I was worried that there was just no way to turn this around. There was no going back, but shock. Shock.
So you flew out of that airport. Did you have a stop anywhere before you went back to LA?
Objection, relevance.
In a minute, I'll show
Overruled.
Yes, we did. We stopped in an airport. I think it was, we stopped at the Sydney airport from Brisbane, I believe.
And did you have to change gates there?
Yes, we had a short flight to get to Sydney, and then in Sydney, I walked with Ben through the airport to get the next plane, and we passed a newsstand, and I just remember I passed this newsstand, and there was a book on one of the book stands outside of the store, and it had this puzzle piece on it, and Johnny and I used to use that as a term of endearment, puzzle piece, and I saw this puzzle piece on the cover of the book. It got my attention. It said 4 ways to click, a relationship guide. So I bought it, and
Who was the author?
Dr. Amy Banks.
Okay. Go ahead, please continue.
So the book, at least from the subtitle, said it was a book on solving relationship problems. So I bought it and I read it on the way home.
And why did you buy it and read it on the way home?
Because I loved this man. I loved this man so much. And it was so toxic. And for some reason, I couldn't get him to... not hurt me. I could... And it seemed like I was hurting him. But we loved each other so much. At least I loved him so much. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with this relationship. It was awful and toxic, but it was so important to me, and I loved him so much. I would have read 1,000,000 books.
So when you got back to
Upon landing, and there was some conversations with the medical team, doctors and stuff, and I just remember feeling concerned for his life because things had changed, and without saying what they said to me,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
she said without saying.
She's characterizing it.
Well, I'll overrule for now. We'll see where we go.
I became really, really worried that Johnny was not going to live through this, that there would be infections or problems and things, and he wouldn't stop using Coke, and he couldn't get the surgery he needed because he wouldn't stop using Coke, and they wouldn't put him under because of all the Coke. So,
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
All right, I'll sustain as the
Foundation.
last part.
Okay.
All right, next question.
So when did you next communicate? When did you next see Mr. Depp after you got back from Australia?
I saw him a few days, I don't know how long it was, but it was at the doctor. I think my best recollection is that it was in the doctor's office or around that he needed a procedure.
Did there come a time that you reconciled after Australia?
Yes, because it almost felt like it went away so quickly because there was this surgery that he needed, and there was maybe he had more than one surgery, but it was, it became very, very about getting Johnny through the next step. Getting Johnny home, getting Johnny off the Coke long enough to get the procedure done, and then after that procedure, getting another procedure done. And it was just these small steps, and before you know it, we were kind of back in it. With the prospect, of course, of him being done with all the drugs and drinking, because that's what necessarily had to happen for him to have this surgery. So that made me feel a little bit more secure and kind of coming back into this relationship with him.
Okay. So I'm going to take you to March 23, 2015, which is a few weeks after, 2.5 weeks roughly after Australia. Where was Johnny staying at this point?
I think he was staying at the Eastern Columbia, at the ECB. Yeah, he was staying at the ECB at the time because we were kind of in the bedroom together the night of the 22nd, which is when he passed out, how I found his iPad.
I'm sorry, when you,
I found his iPad open. He was texting someone with it open. He passed out, and I saw what he was texting.
please tell the jury about that.
He was texting this woman that he had had a relationship with on and off, kind of at the beginning of our relationship. So I recognized the name, but the date was right after the wedding. I saw it. He had gone to her house after we got married. Like, upon touching down in Los Angeles, I think it was the next day, he went to this woman's house that he has this sexual relationship with. And
What did you do as a result of seeing that on the iPad?
I freaked out. I immediately, like, confronted him about it. I was, you know, I didn't care in that moment if he did kill me, which is likely in confronting him at that stage of our lives. I didn't even care anymore. At this moment, he had already ripped my heart out. You know, it's like, I've just been through after having been through what I went through in Australia. Just weeks prior, I see this, it was like, unbelievably painful, unbelievably painful.
So what did you do?
I'm yelling at him. So yelling. I was calling him all these ugly names. I was screaming at him. Told him to get the fuck out of the house. That's what I said. Excuse my language, but we were screaming at each other. At some point, we were upstairs in penthouse 3, and we kind of get into a how do you describe it? Pushing each other, you know. And I just remember being so mad at him for cheating on me and doing so in this way, like right after the wedding. And then right after my wedding, go to see him, and then Australia happens, and it just felt like everything came crashing down, and I was so hurt. Anyway, I break out of his grasp at some point, and I go into my sister's room. The apartments in the ECB are connecting, at least 3 of them are, and they connect from upstairs only. So you could get from Johnny and I's apartment into the neighboring apartment where Whitney, my sister, was staying at the time. And then you could go from that apartment into penthouse 5, again, still on the top floor. So I went through Johnny's office, which is how you access the door that gets you into Whitney, the neighboring apartment where Whitney was, my sister. And I went in there and woke her up crying, screaming, saying, what am I going to do?
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sorry.
All right, sustain.
I don't know, that wasn't offered to prove the truth of the matter.
I'll sustain.
In any event. All right.
Sustain the objection.
Okay, so you went to Whitney's. Don't tell the jury what you said to her, but what happened next?
Johnny comes into penthouse 4 and grabs me. I don't know what he was doing. But at one moment, I I'm aware that my sister's somewhere nearby, and I thought about that. I just remember thinking about that, and he, I remember getting kind of free from Johnny, and he left, or he walked out of the room.
When you say free from Johnny, what, if any, connection did you have, the physical connection before that?
Well, I mean, I'm, trying to stand up for myself, and Johnny would, at that stage in our relationship, he would just throw me, shove me, hit me in the face. I mean, it was just like, all I could do is just try to fight back, or try to not get more hurt than not doing anything would have certainly left me. I don't really recall specifics. I remember at one point he had his uncasted hand in my hair, and I was looking at the carpet. I don't know what happened immediately after that, but I remember he left. He was out of the room for a while. I don't know how we got into, I think I heard him in P5. Again, this is the neighboring apartment of that. So there's P4 in between, and P5 is the corner. And that apartment was empty, basically. And so I used it, the top bedrooms, the bedrooms on the top floor as my closet. And I had all these clothing racks and shoe racks and stuff like that in there. And then it had another level, the mezzanine, which is it hung over the rest of the bottom floor. And I use that as my office. And the bottom floor is, of course, the living room with just some sparsely decorated, just some big couches and a low table. And I I hear him in Penthouse 5. And on the lower level also is another painting studio, like painting area of mine. So I go in there because I hear him, and he's screaming, but I don't know why. I don't know who he's. My understanding was he was screaming at me, but I wasn't in that apartment. I could hear him, and when I heard him, I came into Penthouse 5, and I have to go down the stairs, and I went down the stairs to the mezzanine level where my office was, and I could see him and a security guard and Debbie, the nurse, and he was sitting on the sofa when I first walked into the room, and he kind of stood up, was drinking Red Bull and screaming at me, and Debbie came up the stairs because I'm screaming back at him. She came up the stairs, I think. And while she came up, I was supposed to kind of comfort me. And while I was up on the mezzanine floor, Whitney came down, and he threw the Red Bull can up at me, certainly, but it kind of either hit or narrowly missed Debbie. And I said I called him a pussy, and said something about, I'm screaming at him angrily. I at least called him a fucking pussy. I don't know what else I said, but I was screaming at him because he threw this can at me and everything else that had happened. And when I did that, he bolted up the stairs. And there's only, he was up the first flight of stairs. Again, I'm on the mezzanine, which is in between two flights of stairs. He bolted up the steps, and I don't know how he managed to get his hand in my hair so fast, but he had his hand on the back of my head, my hair, and kind of was yanking me down, and hit me in the face with this cast he had. I just remember this brief struggle we had before we kind of break away. Whitney, my sister, all of a sudden put herself in between Johnny and I. She just threw herself like in the line of fire or whatever. She just all of a sudden was there and was trying to get Johnny to stop. Her back was to the staircase, and Johnny swings at her, and I just see my little sister with her back her back to the staircase, and Johnny swings at her, and I don't even wait for any other, I don't hesitate, I don't wait, I just in my head instantly think of Kate Moss and the stairs, and I swung at him. In all of my relationship to date with Johnny, I hadn't landed a blow. And I, for the first time, hit him. Like, actually hit him. Square in the face. He didn't push my sister down the stairs. And all my time of being in that relationship to that point, hadn't even landed one on Johnny. Sure, I had tried to fight back, threw my arms, flailed my arms, hit whenever I could to try to block blows myself, but never landed anything. And Johnny kind of looked stunned and then laughed at me and then lunged at me again. And before I know it, security stepped in between us and pulled Johnny away. And I went upstairs with my sister, and we locked the door, and I could just hear all this commotion happening in Penthouse 5. I could hear him raging, destroying my things. I could hear it. And at some point I saw it the next day.
Tell the jury what you saw the next day.
All these all my clothing racks were toppled over, shoe racks toppled over, thrown down the stairs, desk, everything on my desk wiped off. Just it looked like everything that he could touch, he tried to turn over, destroy, smash, But my clothing racks, these huge, heavy clothing racks full of clothes, there was at least one of them he threw down the stairs. The rest were toppled over.
Amber, I'm going to fast forward to December 15, 2015. Were you and Mr. Depp together at that time?
Yes, we were.
Did you have a fight that night?
December 15th, yes, we did, but I don't recall. I don't recall what started the argument. We had periods leading up to that were really beautiful and really good, and then periods that weren't.
Well, let's talk about the December 15, 2015. What do you recall of your fight that night with Mr. Depp?
I remember him chasing me in the kitchen. I remember throwing something in his direction to slow down his momentum. I remember him screaming. I remember him getting on top of me at some point, toppling me. Mostly at that moment downstairs, he was hitting me in my face. Again, this is another example of when I wish so much I could tell you an exact sequence, but I can't. It's flashes. So I'll tell you what I do remember. I remember at some point trying to flee upstairs, and we had he got a hold of me and I got free, and I managed to get all the way up the stairs almost. I was on the last flight, and we'd had some interaction where I think I said something to him on the stairs. It might have been broken up, and I think I said something on the stairs, and I just remember how quickly he shot back up those stairs and grabbed me by the back of my hair, my head, and slammed his hand on my head. And I went down on the stairs, and he overtook me. I remember him so well. I remember his boots and the sound they made. I remember him grabbing my hair, my head, and kind of dragging me up the stairs the rest of the way. He dragged me into the room that those stairs open into. It's like a salon foyer area. And we had this argument that kind of, was a shoving match that I was losing. By the second or third shove, he sent me toppling over this chaise lounge, like a little low-lying sofa seat, and I hit my head on the brick wall. There was an exposed brick wall. I remember I stood up, and I remember Johnny asking me if I wanted to go, and he did that thing where he's like challenging me. He said it in that way, challenging me to stand up and get back up. And when I did, he said, "Oh, you really want to go now, tough guy?" Shoved me back down. "Oh, you really want to go, huh? Oh, you're so tough." I stood back up again. This time he hits me in the face. I stand back up and look him right in the eyes. And it was just a really still moment. I'll never forget it. Really still. I stood up and he said, "You want to go again, tough guy?" And I just looked right at him, just looked right at his face. And he balled up his fists, leaned back, and headbutted me square in the nose. Just right as I stood in front of him. I was a foot from him. Just slammed me right in the nose. Instantly, searing pain. It's one of the few memories I have in this long relationship that I actually remember the physical pain in that moment, just searing. And I remember thinking, you have your hands free. I had time to think. You have your hands free. You could have hit me with your hands. Why did you headbutt me? I told him that night I was going to leave him. I went through his office to go into the other room where I kept all my stuff. We had another struggle. He overtook me. I was trying to hit him off me. I was trying to get him to trying to get his body off of me, and he was just pummeling me. I don't know how else to describe what I was. I went down to the floor. I remember being on top of me, and he's screaming and swinging at me while I was on the floor. He had me by the hair and dragged me the rest of the way from the office into the neighboring room, the neighboring apartment. I remember the door that connected these two rooms had a metal grate, not a grate, but a metal bottom, metal floor that separated it. It's a big, heavy bank door. And I remember he was dragging me, and I removed my hands from my head and kind of tried to grab onto the metal door to prevent him from dragging me into the room. But I couldn't stop him. He dragged me all the way from that carpet. I was trying to get free of his grasp. I was trying to stop him from pulling me. I remember feeling the carpet and the metal. And He wrestles me, drags me up to the bed, throws me down onto the bed. It kind of wrestles me down onto the bed. And he kneels on my back with one leg. And I was trying to fight him off me because I was face down on the bed top. And he wrestled me down, kind of trying to hold me down with his knee on my back. And he's punching me with a closed fist, punching me repeatedly. And I don't remember even feeling the pain. I just remember the sound of Johnny's voice. He got next to my ear and he was screaming over and over and over again. Each time it sounded louder and more desperate. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you. Over and over. Fucking hate you. And then pounding the back of my head, pounding it with his fist. And I don't even remember feeling pain. I just could hear myself scream until I couldn't hear myself anymore. I could just hear him say that he was going to kill me. And that he sounded like an animal in pain when he was saying that he fucking hated me. He sounded like he was almost crying, or something in his voice was different. He sounded different, he sounded like he was in agony. It was high-pitched and loud. And I don't know how many times he just hit me over and over and over again. And I got really still. And it felt in my body like quiet. And I thought, this is how I die. He's gonna kill me now. And I'm not. He's gonna kill me and he won't even have realized it. I couldn't breathe. I remember trying to scream and I couldn't scream. I was suffocating in this pillow top with him holding me down, punching me over and over, and I don't have any memory after that until I woke up.
When you woke up, was there anyone there?
I remember hearing my best friend's voice. I felt like it came, felt like it was like on a speakerphone, like it came from everywhere. I just heard her voice in a weird way. It felt like it was coming from two directions. And I realized that I was sitting on the edge of the bed, on the carpet of the floor against the broken frame of the bed. And there was a low-lying bed with a really thick wooden frame. And it was broken from his boot trying to get a purchase on it while he was...
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
I could feel it.
Overruled.
Thank you. Please continue.
I was there for it. And while he was on top of me, I could feel that. I could feel him trying to get balance. I could feel him slipping. I could hear it. I don't know how I got off the bed. I don't know what happened to me from the time I stopped hearing myself scream. I don't know what happened to me. It's a really weird feeling because next thing I remember is leaning against the broken part of the bed and on the carpet, and my friend saying, "Oh my God, oh my
Objection,
God."
Your Honor. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Okay. Go ahead. And without
And then
knowing what Rocky said.
I eventually, she called the nurse, Nurse Erin. She got something out of the freezer for my face. She did a concussion check with Erin on the phone. I thought I probably had a concussion, and certainly thought I had a broken nose. There was blood everywhere, blood all over those pillows. My head was bleeding from the ripped out hair, chunks of hair on the floor all over the place, actually. It was just all over the apartment. He, after leaving me, had written on the countertops in Sharpies.
Michelle, I'm going to ask you to bring up Defendant's Exhibit 510. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, I do.
And does it accurately depict the scene portrayed?
Yes, that's the next day, I think.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 510.
No objection.
All right, 510 in evidence. You can publish it, please.
Thank you. And could you describe to the jury what that is?
It was chunks of my hair that Johnny ripped out while dragging me and punching me.
Thank you. Michelle, could you bring up 513, please? Defendant's 513. Does this picture accurately depict and the scene portrayed?
I think this is a couple days later, but yeah.
Okay. I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's 513.
No objection.
All right, 513 in evidence.
And could you tell the jury what this is and what it depicts?
This is my face with a busted lip, which it's difficult to see in this picture, but my two black eyes, one is worse than the other. Like I said, maybe a day or two later. And my broken nose.
All right. Thank you. Michelle, can you bring up Defendant's Exhibit 514? Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes, that's my face sometime after.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's 514.
No objection.
514 in evidence. You can publish.
All right. If you could just briefly describe for the jury what this one is.
That's my face. Some time after, and Johnny beat me up.
Thank you. Michelle, if you could bring up Defendant's 515. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes.
Going to move the admission of Exhibit 516.
No objection.
515 or 516?
516. I'm sorry if I misspoke.
You said 515
Oh.
before.
It's 515. 515.
No objection to 515? Okay.
No, Your Honor.
515 in evidence. You can publish.
And what does this depict, Amber? Could you tell the jury?
This is my face. sometime after.
All right. Let's look at defendants 516, please. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted? Amber?
Yes, it does. This
I'd
is maybe,
Wait, let me move it first. May I move
Sure.
the admission of defendants exhibit 516,
No objection.
516 in evidence.
published to the jury, please? Okay, Amber, go ahead and explain what it is.
I think this is maybe that night or the next night after Johnny left me on the bed.
Let's go to 517. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes, it does.
Move to admit defendants 517, Your Honor.
No objection.
517 in evidence.
Amber, please describe for the jury what this portrays.
That's my face after this incident.
And what's portrayed on your lip?
Well, he busted my lip when he punched me. It's bleeding in this picture. It kept reopening. You know, it's a mouth. The lips move.
Go to 519. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes.
Move the
This-
admission of 519.
No objection, Your Honor.
519 in evidence.
And tell the jury what this shows.
This is my lip a few days later.
Let's go to defendants 520, please. Does this accurately depict the scene portrayed?
Yes.
Move the admission of defendants 520. Is it 521 or 520? 520.
No objection.
520 in evidence. Published.
Can you please tell the jury what's depicted here?
That's my scalp with a chunk of it missing from when Johnny was dragging me by my hair.
Let's go to defendants 521, please. I don't think that's the same. Let's take that one down. Let's go to 522. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Well, it's a few days later.
Okay. Move the admission of 522, please.
No objection.
522 in evidence.
And what shows there?
My face is healing.
Okay. Let's go to 523. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes, I think this is day or so after, maybe maybe longer. I can't tell, but yes, it does.
Move the admission of 523.
No objection.
523 in evidence.
And I'm just going to draw your attention, Amber, to an area up here. What, if any, bruising did you sustain in that area?
Objection leading.
What, if any?
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
It's
What, if any, bruising did you sustain?
I'm
Same
so-
objection.
I'll sustain the objection.
Did you what injuries did you have?
I had bruising on my temple, my chin, my neck, the back of my head. I had swelling and pieces of, my scalp kind of ripped, torn. They were gross, pussy. But this is of the bruising around my temple from one of the blows, several of the blows, I don't know.
Let's go to 524. Does this accurately portray the scene shown?
Yes.
Okay. Move the admission of 524.
No objection.
524 in evidence.
And what does this show?
It's, I had a pretty, can I touch the screen?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, ma'am, you can.
Yes.
And I had a pretty gross bruise right there in my head, on my temple. It's difficult to see it in this light, but I remember it was pretty ugly.
Now let's go to defendants 509. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, I move the admission of defendants 509.
No objection.
All right, 509.
Will you please tell the jury what this is?
That's the bed that Johnny broke while on top of me.
All right, let's go to defendants 511, please. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes.
Move the admission of defendants 511.
No objection.
All right, 511 in evidence.
What do you see in this picture, Amber?
Just more destruction from a part of the fight that happened in the bedroom. Not the bedroom that I was just talking about. It was the main bedroom. There had been a part of the fight that happened in there too.
Let's go to defendants 512, please. Does this accurately portray the scene depicted?
Yes, that's downstairs in the main.
Wait, let me move the admission of it. Move the admission of defendants 512, please.
No objection.
512 in evidence.
Okay, now please tell the jury about it.
It's downstairs in the main apartment.
Okay. Let's go to defendants 525. And does this accurately depict the scene portrayed?
Yes.
Move the admission of 525, please.
No objection.
All right, 525 in evidence.
And please tell the jury what this is.
This is Johnny's graffitiing on our kitchen counter that he left on his way out, I suppose.
All right. And I think defendant's 526 is already into evidence. Could you just bring that
Yes,
up?
526 is in evidence. Right.
All right. Now, Amber, as of December 15, 2015, what were your plans for Christmas that year?
Well, up to this point, the plan was to have our families join us. We would go with the kids and celebrate Christmas together, as a married couple. And we would all go to Johnny's Island, and he had invited my best friend at the time, Rocky, and her family, meaning her mom and her fiance, and my parents, and my sister, and we were all going to go to this island I've told you about that Johnny has in the Bahamas and spend it together. And that was the plan leading up to this.
And what, if anything, changed as a result of this night of December 15, 2015?
After they saw my face, no one wanted to go to the island anymore with Johnny. They wanted me to leave him.
Did you have to appear, were you scheduled to appear on the James Corden show on December 16?
That's right. I was promoting The Danish Girl, the film I had done earlier in the year in London before going to see Johnny in Australia. So I was promoting that film that had been completed, and they asked me to make an appearance on a night show called The James Corden Show. After this happened, and I did the first concussion check with Aaron on the phone, I got worried that I wouldn't be able to hide the bruising and swelling. But I iced it all night, and the next day checked in the mirror to see if I could get away with it, meaning hiding it, so I could make an appearance. And I gambled and thought maybe I could pull it off. I had my hair and makeup team come, and they worked around it, meaning worked around the lesions on my head with the hairspray, because that stings, and worked around the bruising by covering it with heavier makeup than normal bruise covering makeup. And I remember my lip was still bleeding and swollen, so we did this like really thick, super heavy, matte red lipstick. I remember very well at the time that we had no choice in color, and that was one of my favorite colors to wear, and in this occasion we had no choice because nothing else would hide my busted lip. And I went on the show, did what I always do. I told people I had an accident.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustain the
It's not
objection.
offered to prove the truth of the matter, but
Sustain.
because you didn't have an accident. but-
Your Honor.
All right.
I'll sustain the objection.
Okay, please continue. So did you appear on the show?
I appeared on the show.
Okay. And did there come a time that you changed your mind and went to the Bahamas with Mr. Depp for Christmas?
Eventually.
2015.
Eventually I did.
Okay. And you went there with whom?
I went with Johnny's kids. I was, obviously I didn't see Johnny after this because he didn't face the damage he caused in my experience. he was never around for the cleanups. And so he wasn't around for a few days. And I eventually heard from him, and he said he wanted to talk. And then he understood that it couldn't go back, you know, like almost as if he understood that I wouldn't forgive him. Made it easier somehow to talk to him. You know, I didn't feel so bad about myself in that case because, you know, how could I put up with this, right? But with the understanding that we were done, I could, you know, allow for us to have one last conversation, I suppose. But I just, you know, it's like, I was heartbroken by the idea that I would spend my first Christmas as a married couple with his kids and everything on the island. I was heartbroken at the idea of missing that. And, you know, it's the best I can describe it is it's like for every hit, every instance of violence, every time I was choked, every single one of these instances.
Tell us how you felt and what you were thinking in this process of whether to go to have Christmas with Mr. Depp and his children.
You know, I guess I was trying to explain.
Go ahead.
That, you know, just after you think each one of these is, it's almost like for each one of these things that happens, you lose the will or resolve to leave. You know, it's like every single heavy coin you put in this piggy bank is like an investment into the future you're going to get to, you know, and then before you know it, you're just carrying around this weighted ball. This piggy bank's too heavy, you can't leave. You know, for every single time I went back or allowed him back after this sort of thing would happen, I lost a piece of myself, a piece of my self-confidence, my trust in myself to leave and move on. You know, I lost fortifications, I lost myself, and it was somehow easier to stay. I didn't want to stay in the violence or in this. I wanted to stay with Johnny, the good Johnny that I loved. So I put another one of those coins in the piggy bank of investment in hope and future, and I forgive him. It wasn't even that simple. I just decided to believe him that it would never happen again. Clean and sober once again. This time was the last time because it couldn't be worse than this, right? It couldn't be worse. And part of me thought that maybe it just needed to get this bad to get, you know, like now we can't go back. There's no way this could happen again. So I went to the island after a few days of talking with Johnny, arguing with Johnny, talking with Johnny, negotiating that it was going to be clean and sober. I wasn't going to drink anymore. He wasn't going to use anymore. He'd never lay a hand on me again. He'd rather die than do that, is what he was saying. And I was scared. My friends were scared, but I decided to go. After a few days of having the plane and the kids waiting, not knowing what was going on, they were at Sweetser, the main house, kind of just waiting to go on this Christmas vacation. And eventually I got in the car with Johnny, and we picked his kids up and left for the island.
So let's go to the island for the Christmas holidays. And what, if any, arguments did you have with Mr. Depp at the island over the Christmas holiday?
Towards thing like that. And I'm sensitive at this point to the clues that I can pick up on to know what pattern of behavior I'm dealing with, because they made a huge difference in my life. So if I knew what he was on and what he was doing, I could react accordingly. So I'm picking up clues. I'm sitting next to him and he's nodding off, and every single time he kind of like nods off, he dumps this glass of wine on my lap. And I say every single time because it happened like 3 times. First time, whatever. Second time, I'm like, Johnny, are you all right? And I probably say it like a little weighted. I got to deal with. He just had promised that it was clean and sober. We had this horrible thing happen in December. I thought we were moving forward. And the third time this happens, I jump up. I already changed my pants twice. And I jumped up and I shout at Johnny, like, what are you doing? Or, Johnny, you spilled on me again, something to that effect. And I get up, get up off the couch, and Johnny's son says,
Objection, Your Honor,
Your
hearsay.
Honor, not offered to prove the truth of the matter. It explains what's coming.
Give you a good approach. I just don't know.
Amber, please continue. Jack said.
says, are you okay or can I help? Something to that effect. And I pointedly say to Jack, but really to Johnny, like, thank you, Jack. And to make a point of the fact that he hadn't offered to help me or even acknowledge that he'd been spilling wine. First, he's drinking wine. Second, he's spilling it all over me. And third, he's spilling it because he's nodding off, is what I assume. So I kind of say this in a pointed way at Jack, thanking him for offering. And I get up, go to the closet, take off the pants that have just been in front of his kids again. If I ever embarrass him, and he just shoved me in embarrassed. If I ever embarrass you, if you ever embarrass me again in front of my kids, I'll fucking kill you. And I don't recall who told Jack to leave, or I don't really recall having an awareness of where he was at this point, but I leave the closet, go into the bathroom, which is right next to it, and he comes barreling into the bathroom behind me. Before he does that, I said something snarky to him, "Don't fucking ever talk to me like that again," or "I hate you," or something in response, just something, so that I felt like I wasn't just being a punching bag. And I kind of get over to the bathroom, but I didn't even have the door shut before he was in the bathroom with me. And I don't know if he used my body to shut the door or if he just shut it. But again, bangs me up against the wall. But this time he just grabbed my vagina, like, I was wearing this peach, kind of like netted kind of style swimming suit underneath. That's what I had on from the waist down, and he just grabbed me. Best I can explain it with his shoved his fingers inside me, but through my bathing suit. He didn't like move my bathing suit out of the way, and just kind of held me there and asked me if I was so fucking tough. I thought I was so fucking tough. Said, "Oh, you tough like a man now? You some man now?" Just kind of taunting me while jerking me around. And he kind of seemed to do this thing where he was smiling, not just like teasing me. You know, like, "Oh yeah, you think you're so fucking tough, now what? Now what?" I don't know what happened after that. I went back into the room, or he went into the room. I don't know who went into the main room first. I just remember his hand landing on the back of my shoulder neck area. I remember trying to get him off of me. I don't know. I don't know what the next thing that happened was, but I do remember I knew I needed to get away from him. At some point I ran. I ran out of the back door, ran out onto the patio. At some point before I ran, he swung at me, but I don't even remember how much of an impact it made, but I remember running. I threw something in his direction when I was getting away from him. I ran down the deck, ran out into the kind of like parking lot area, his gravel parking lot area outside of the house. And that's my estimation of when Johnny reached me, grabbed me by the hair, swung me around. I remember he hit my face at least once, but I'm not quite sure in what sequence. Was it before I broke away or after? I don't remember. I just remember the lights of the ATV coming up. The island, two of the people who worked on the island for Johnny, CJ and Tara, they pulled up in the ATV. I remember the headlights. I remember separating from him, or them kind of running up and saying something and separating us. And I didn't see Johnny for the rest of the evening, is my recollection. I just found him the next day, passed out in the cafe that was close to the house.
Is that the end of?
Yeah, this is a good breaking point, yes.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you can just stay there for a moment. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be breaking, again, this is the time that we break for a week, okay? So I won't be seeing you until May 16th. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how the remainder of the case will progress, okay? All right, so we promised to get to the case to you by Memorial Day. So in order to keep that promise, there's going to be a few things I need from you, okay? One thing is, starting on May 16th, we're going to start having court at 9 a.m. So we'll be going 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Some days we might have to go to 5:30, so I want to let you know ahead of time so you can plan accordingly, okay? The other thing I need from you is Friday, May 27th, which is the Friday before Memorial Day, is going to be a court day. On that day, we're going to go ahead and have closing arguments, and the case is going to be turned over to you for deliberations on that day, okay? So I wanted to let you know ahead of time so you can plan accordingly so we can get this taken care of for you, okay? All right, so those are the announcements I want to make for you and make sure you had time to schedule what you needed to do. Now I also want to go over, as we always do on Thursdays, our responsibilities, the responsibilities you have as jurors, okay, in this case? All right, so you're not to read anything about this case. You're not to watch anything about this case. You're not to listen to anything about this case. This applies to television, newspapers, magazines, the internet, and any online sites. Further, you're not to read, watch, or listen to anything about this case on any social networking sites such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, etc., or any similar sites. In addition, you must not communicate with anyone about the case, whether in person, over the phone, by email, text, or instant messaging, or by any other electronic or non-electronic means. This includes friends, family, co-workers, acquaintances, and strangers. I also instruct you that you cannot do any research or make any inquiries about this case, whether online or by any other means. What you learn about this case is limited to what you learn in the four walls of this courtroom when proceedings are underway, okay? So please enjoy your week off, get plenty of fresh air and rest, all right? And then I'll see you at 9 a.m. on Monday, May 16th, okay? All right, thank you. And again, ma'am, since you're still in the middle of your testimony, you can't discuss your testimony with anybody to include your attorneys, okay? You can step down, though, and have a seat with your attorneys. I have a few housekeeping matters I want to take care of before we finish. Attorneys, I won't see you tomorrow for Friday depositions because we finished all the depositions. I want to thank all of you for last Friday and staying here until I think it was 9 o'clock at night. But we got them all done, and I really appreciate all your work on that. It does mean a lot, and now you're rewarded because you don't have to see me tomorrow. So, so no more depositions. What I'd also, for planning purposes, though, since we're going to be going 9 to 5. The day is going to be a little different, so we'll start at 9. We'll probably break for our morning break between 10:30 and 10:45. We're going to break for lunch between 12:30 and 1:30, so I want you to plan accordingly for that. Our afternoon break will probably be between 3:15 to 3:30, maybe even a little later to 3:45. We'll see. And then we'll try to break at 5. There may be times when we might go to 5:30, as I told the jury. So I just want to make sure you know that. Since I won't see you tomorrow, I wanted to go ahead and give you your times as of this very minute of what you have used and what you have left, okay? Are you ready? Okay, Mr. Chu's going to try to use it with a highlighter. Let's wait. There we go. There we go. That's right. That's okay. There we go. All right. So plaintiff has used 35 hours and 6 minutes. Defendants have used 36 hours and 31 minutes, which means the plaintiff has 26 hours and 9 minutes left, and the defendant has 24 hours and 44 minutes left, okay? And just a reminder, as we said from the very beginning, once time is up, once your time is up, your time is up. If it's in the middle of a witness, I'm going to stop you, okay? So make sure, I mean, the 9 to 5 schedule, when we start back on May 16th, will give us a little buffer, but not much. So I will be keeping everyone on task for those last 2 weeks, so keep that in mind as well. Enjoy the next week. I don't anticipate I will hear from you for this next week. If there's an emergency, I understand that, but just remember what my definition of an emergency is. Okay, we all remember that? All right, great. So other than that, does anybody have anything else for me?
Yes, sir. It's just a math question. I'm thinking we have 25.44.
Sammy says 24. If you add 36 hours and 31 minutes and 24 hours and 44 minutes, you get what?
What is our allotment? 61.
Well, you can get with Sammy when we're done, okay? Is it right or wrong?
What's the total?
What's that?
What's the total?
61 hours and 15 minutes. Does that add up then? That is right. Mr. Ronenberg says I'm right. Okay, so that's the right time. Sammy did it 3 times over, so I thought that was right. You made him very nervous. Okay, so that's good. Everything else? Anything else? Yes,
Your
ma'am.
Honor, we do have our updated exhibit
Okay.
page that you requested.
Oh, perfect.
From
All right.
plaintiff. May
All
I
right.
approach?
That's fine. I think that's something Jamie needed. Okay. All right, we'll get that. All right, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
We're good? All right, we'll see you Monday, May 16th, 9 a.m., right? All right, thank you.